Hi everyone, Nick Latrenta here. Welcome back to my series, The Best Big Men in Wrestling. It is a beautiful day where I live over here. There's a park right by my house. I could certainly do these videos inside, but I like to come to this park in the summer and do these videos. If you're interested, also check out my Wrestling with Faith series where I talk about professional wrestlers who became Christians and their testimonies. And I also have several videos related to Christianity, a series I call Walking with Creation, where I walk through this beautiful park here and talk about the book of Genesis and how it should be taken literally in scripture. I'm planning on continuing that series this summer and going more into the science aspect. So again, check out those videos. And what I want to talk about today is one of my favorite big men wrestlers of all time, Sycho Sid, also known as Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, real name Sid Udy. He passed away pretty recently. I forget when exactly. A very controversial figure in wrestling in many ways. First of all, let's get to the size. Typically billed, at least in WWF, 6'9". WCW, I think, billed him as 6'8", and then randomly 7 foot for a while in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't find the video, but way back when he was in the older version of the NWA, I think they advertised him at 6'7" once. He usually was advertised as around 300 pounds. I think WWE was typically, WWFE, whatever, 313, 318, something like that. So his height is another one up for debate. And as we talked about with these big men videos, this is something that fascinates me. The billings versus the actual heights. How tall were they actually? So I've seen Sid claim in interviews of being 6'8", 6'9". I read once him claiming a legit 6'7", and then he had a podcast towards the end of his life. And in the podcast, he said he was measured as a little over 6'6", and he always considered himself to be a little over 6'6". So the billings and his claims are all over the place. I think the last one was the most truthful, it sounds like to me. Maybe the other ones he was rounding up or just going with his build height or whatever, I don't know. He always appeared so tall in the ring. I think personally he wore internal lifts in his shoes when he wrestled. Because if you watch him, particularly in the WWF in 96, 97, his height almost seemed to fluctuate. Like, one week he would seem so much taller than Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and he would still always be a lot taller than them, but then he'd seem a little, like, shorter than he was last time. Same thing with The Undertaker. If you look at stare downs between him and The Undertaker, Sid's always cranking his head back, almost always, and his eye line appears to be higher, so he appears taller at first glance. But when you look at heights, you got to look at the top of the head, because that's where your height stops, not at your eye line. And there's a lot of pictures online of them having stare downs, and Undertaker, I think, was actually always a little taller than him, and I think that because Sid might have worn lifts and tilted his head back, it gave the illusion at times he was taller. And I think that might have been why he got that terrible injury he got in WCW. Now, I don't know this for sure. This is just my guess. But I'm wondering if he had those lifts in his shoes, and when he jumped, he landed on those, lifts in his shoes, essentially. And that's what caused the leg break. I don't know. Those are just guesses. Nothing anybody needs to stress about, just something I find interesting for some reason. But anyway, I loved watching him as a kid. And it's so funny how years later when, shoot interviews come out and wrestlers talk about more about the in-ring art form and the personality of people, and a lot of people didn't like him, and a lot of people were saying he wasn't that good in the ring. All I could say as a fan is, I didn't want to see Sid go out there and chain wrestle anybody. I wanted to see him go out there and beat people up. Chokeslam, powerbomb, that kind of thing. And he always had the crowd in the palm of his hand. He was so charismatic. What he was like outside the ring, his reliability and all that, I don't know. I wasn't there. We always have to go by what other wrestlers say. But bottom line is, I always loved watching him, and I thought he was super athletic for his size. He used to do nip-ups when he was younger in the ring. I've seen him do like sunset flip kind of moves. just an incredible look. Like, he's like the prototype wrestler look, and incredibly charismatic. So he's one of my favorite big men of all time. I miss him. I wish he would have gotten one more final run in WWE. I know he did that thing with Heath Slater a while back, but I always enjoyed watching him, and I still love watching his stuff to this day. Sycho Sid.